evening. Welcome to Sound Health on Lagos Television. I am Olasumbo Modupe. We bring you Sound Health every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. and we try to enlighten members of the public on trending health issues from around the world. Today on the program, we are taking a look at something trending around the region. Over 30 persons have been confirmed to have died following the recent outbreak of Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. What does this mean for the region's level of preparedness when it comes to disease outbreak, and how prepared are we in Nigeria? Stay tuned, the conversation begins after this break. The program is still Sound Health on Lagos Television. Join us now via Zoom to share more perspective about the recent outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He is Dr. Oladipo Kolawole. He is an associate professor of infectious disease and genomics with the Department of Microbiology at Adeleke University. He is also a fellow of Indian Council of Medical Research, African Union, SCRC, honorary associate professor with the Department of Chemical Engineering, Birmingham University, UK, and founder of Elix Biogen Institute in Ogbomoso here in Nigeria. Good evening, Dr. Oladipo Kolawole, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, good evening. I'm very glad to be on this show again for this period. Thank you so much.
All right, what started, you're most welcome, sir. What started as just a case is now a concern in the African region. Dr. Oladipo Kolawole, quickly bring us up to speed about the Ebola virus outbreak.
Yeah, let me just talk the first instance to let everybody know that what we have on the news, if you look at the way it's been said, we call it suspected viral hemorrhagic fever. Suspected. So people should understand the terminologies that we use in health sciences and medical sciences. So when we say suspected, it means someone is presenting a similar or a clinical sign that mimics a lot of infections or diseases. So what we just need to do is to just send out the sample for laboratory confirmation, because most of the viral hemorrhagic viruses that cause hemorrhagic fever, they have similar clinical signs and symptoms. So even like dengue too, because dengue also causes hemorrhagic fever, and which is present in our environment. So the case was a suspected case, and it's just people, traveler coming to Nigeria, coming from Kigali. So, and it presented itself and it felt unwell. So, and after that, a laboratory investigation was carried out. And you can see that from the laboratory investigation, the patient, the traveler we're talking about, tested negative for Ebola and Marburg. So we can now see that only thing that we do not know is that for now, they didn't tell us about the other investigations that were done. But because there was a misinformation saying that, oh, there is Ebola and Marburg, we don't just say that without having a conclusive decision. So from that, it is something that has been confirmed that the traveler is not suffering from Ebola, is not suffering from Marburg. But the traveler did well because the decision to report himself uh, to the hospital is very, very things that we have to encourage. And that's why we tell everyone that once you feel unease, you have some clinical signs you are experiencing, go to the nearest hospital for them to actually test you and confirm and this and this. And we are happy that the clinician and the hospital team that handled this case, they really did well. And that as the NISA Premier Hospital in Abuja, they did well because they immediately trigger a rapid response and coordinated response and recognize, and they did what is expected. Even the port health services, these are great people. And as I always tell you that Nigerians, we are good to go when it comes to preparedness against any pandemic, that we have good people on ground that are actually capable of handling something like. So invariably, the traveler was not confirmed to have Ebola or dengue. But what we have to know is that when we see things like that, we should
Report early.
uh, just facilities that we have and let's do appropriate tests. So that is what I can say on that case now.
All right. Before we get to the symptoms and causes, why are we seeing a reemergence, especially in DRC? I know Nigeria reported its first case in 2014. Why are we seeing a reemergence in DRC? And I also hear that it is a different strain.
Yeah, like Lassa is found mostly in Nigeria most of the time. Then Ebola is also associated with DRC. That you can see that most of the time we have an outbreak, and that seems that there are some activities that is promoting the outbreak of this disease in DRC. Most of the time, if you look at the transmission pattern of Ebola disease, Ebola virus disease, it's when you can get it by contacting, you can get it contracted through infected live or dead animal. Usually following when they are butchering or cooking or eating. And it can also be through the contact of body fluid of infected human. And most cases, it is actually caused by human to human transmission. And that can be through any fluid of the body, either through the stool, secretions, urine, semen. And when somebody have a broken skin, the mucus of the skin, mucous membrane or broken skin, then touches another person, you can. And you can see in some years back, we have this thing that there are some cultural activities in DRC that can promote the spread of this disease. And we talk about zoonotic infection, that infection that isn't transferred from animal to human. So there are activities of hunting, people going to the bush to look for bush meat. So the more we go into the bush, the more we get in contact with animals that have been infected. And now, if somebody is infected and there's no proper diagnosis and the person died, family members will be there to rally around the dead body for them to have it buried. But because they don't have the idea what led to the death, so invariably there will be one or two people that will pick the pathogen up, and the transmission chain keeps increasing. And that is why we need to look at our cultural activities, our traditional activities that encourage the spread of infectious disease beyond this Ebola, beyond this Marburg. So once we look at that, it's going to be much easier for us to curb, because currently now there's no vaccine that can prevent that diseases for now. And most of the time it's being treated symptomatically so that the person can even relieve from what they have. And that's the reason why there's isolation center, so that you can put such an individual in a place where contact with infected person will be limited. And that's why you see everybody that healthcare workers are dealing with such case, they are kitted up from head to toe so that they also will not be infected, and they also cannot transmit that to their relatives or people that might get in contact with them.
Okay, I know the Africa Center for Disease Control has reported that this is a different strain from the reported ones in the past. Are the symptoms the same?
Yeah, most of the symptoms are the same as the clinical manifestation, the severity of diseases that was always differ. And you know, one of the things that we should understand is that pathogen will likely mutate, and when they mutate, it comes in three dimensions. It's either to the negative side, or to the positive side, or to the neutral. Some of the time, it's not all mutation that leads to virulence of diseases. It doesn't mean that once an organism mutates, it's going to have more impact in terms of the clinical manifestation in the society. So even this mutation cannot be known phenotypically until you conduct genotypic testing. Yeah, genotypic testing, and analyze the genome of the pathogen before you have a good scientific understanding why mutation has really occurred and what is the importance of such a mutation in such a pathogen. So uh, pathogens are there to mutate, and the reason why they are there to mutate again is that they want to survive. So some of the time they want to escape the immune system of the host. So because they want to multiply, God told us that we should go into the world and multiply. So they also want to multiply. They want to procreate. So as much as human being is trying to block them, they are also looking at different means and diversity at which they can also mutate. Then we have problem with RNA viruses. RNA viruses are not stable like DNA virus, and that's why most of the time it's easier for you to get vaccines for DNA virus than RNA virus. So those are the challenges that we have with mutation. It's normal. That's one of the things that happen to RNA virus. They mutate, but they mutate to either allow them to gain more function or to lose more function. That is just it.
All right, let's quickly look at the symptoms. You mentioned hemorrhagic fever. What are the other symptoms? What should people understand by hemorrhagic?
Yeah. When we talk about hemorrhagic, let me just first of all say that when the symptoms start, the onset symptom is fever, and fever is just a high or low body temperature beyond or above the normal body temperature. And some of the time we have intensive weaknesses, we have muscle pain, that's myalgia, we have headache, we have arthralgia, we have sore throat. Those are the common experience at the beginning of the disease. So other symptoms that may actually follow are like vomiting, diarrhea, and at the end of the day, that when we call it hemorrhagic, it now means that it has turned to severe cases. Then we now have uncontrolled bleeding from body orifice. What I mean by body orifice is that you see bleeding blood coming out from the nose, from the eyes, from the ear, from the mouth, from the anus, when you want to steal. So once it's getting to this stage, uh, it may even lead to failure of several body organs, such as kidney, liver, central nervous system, and some of the time, some patients experience shock. They experience shock, and it can just lead to death. After this, death is just another thing that we're expecting. So, and death occur between 8 to 10 days of onset of symptoms. Within 8 and 10 days, within that range, yeah, you can see death occurring in that. Yeah. So, we need to prevent Ebola. we need to guide against having it. And prevention is even better than cure, and it's less expensive than cure when it comes to Ebola.
Okay, I know you mentioned earlier some preventive measures. Okay, let us look at curative measures. Is this disease treatable, or can it be managed if it's still within the window period?
Yeah, uh, we have some vaccines are available for some Ebola strain, but early detection is the best, because I told you that if mutation is occurring, scientifically we have to show that the existing vaccine will be able to protect for the new strain that is emerging.
Okay.
So, and there are still a lot of clinical trials going on Ebola. We have Ebola Sudan strain. They have been naming it according to the country where the strains are being evolving and coming out. So the most way to 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 save life is to prevent. And the also thing they give is that supportive treatment is most effective. What I mean by supportive treatment is that as the clinical signs emerges, you treat based on the clinical sign, so that you are removing these so that the patient can be getting better gradually and gradually. So supportive treatment is one of the best treatments that is used in treating Ebola infected patients.
Okay, take us through the public health advisory. I know the NCDC also ruled out some high alert when the disease was reported in the DRC. Quickly take us through the public health advisory, not just at the national level, but at the state and local level.
Yeah. I think beyond what Nigerian CDC rightly talked about, I think we all should take responsibility of our health. We should practice a good hand hygiene, that we should wash our hand whenever we go to with soap or 70% any
Alcohol.
alcohol-based sanitizer, and also we should avoid contact with symptomatic persons. If you see anybody that is having unexplained bleeding, diarrhea, fever, we should try to be cautious in the way we associate or we deal with such a person. Then, for those who are involved in gaming activities, they should be extra careful in avoiding contact with footbats, monkeys, or apes, because these are the primary vector that transmits the viral pathogen. So, and we should handle those animals with gloves and protective clothing, and we should ensure that animals are well and thoroughly cooked before eating. Then also let's avoid getting contact with saliva, vomit, blood, either from suspected cases or confirmed cases.
Cases.
This one does not cost us any money. And that's why I say that prevention is better and cheaper than cure. So if we stay at the preventive measure, I bet it with you, we're going to have a better life to live. Thank you so much.
All right, the last, Dr. Kolawole, coincidentally, the just concluded Lassa fever conference happened when the Ebola virus outbreak was reported in the DRC. What was the response by leaders at that time? And take us through the key highlights and takeaways from the conference.
Yeah, I think the last uh, conference on last IFA West African International Conference, we were opportune to be there, and we thank God that God gave us the grace to witness it, and it showcased a lot of work that people are doing in West Africa as regards how to find solution with the they have to find solution to the virus. We have a quite number of researches that were presented, and talks were still more on development of vaccine locally, in ensuring that we have a very good vaccine for preventive measure towards this Lassa itself. Then again, one of the lessons we learned is that we can see how partners are ready to support the end to Lassa. I think our Minister for Health, Kate, was there at the opening ceremony, and we have some other ministers of health from the West African countries, and all of them are pledging their commitment, their support in ensuring that we end Lassa. And one of the lessons is that there are definitely going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So let's await. A lot of Lassa vaccine candidates are already ongoing clinical trial. So we are trusting God and hopeful that the result will come out fine. And if the result come out fine, it's going to help everybody, and we can forget Lassa fever like we have forget some of those like polio. We can soon eradicate Lassa from the entire Africa continent.
Your final words as we wrap up now, Dr. Ladipo.
Yeah, my final word is that health is wealth, and preventive measure is less expensive than curative. So anything that we need to do, let's stand the point of preventive measure than curative. And the health issue of Nigeria, the preparedness for health in Nigeria, is not the duty of federal government alone. We encourage our federal government to do more, state government to do more, the local government to do more. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, health is wealth. Preventive measures is far way better than curative measures. Dr. Oladipo Kolawole, thank you so much for your time and expertise on sound health.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, ma'am.
All right, I have been speaking with Dr. Oladipo Kolawole on the recent Ebola outbreak and the need for effective public health advisory to prevent the outbreak in Nigeria. He is an associate professor of infectious diseases and genomics with the Department of Microbiology at Adeleke University, Nigerian International Fellow of Indian Council of Medical Research, African Union SARC, and honorary associate professor with the Department of Chemical Engineering, Birmingham University, UK, and founder of Elix Baldwin Institute, Ogbomoso in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time once again. Sound Health continues with trending health report from around the world. Please stay tuned. The program is still Sound Health on Lagos Television. Remember to report symptoms early enough to the nearest healthcare practitioner, whether it is hemorrhagic or zoonotic disease. Report symptoms early enough. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water or alcohol-based hand sanitizer. You also need to cook your food very well and eat only healthy meals. For comments and inquiries, or you feel you have topics you'd like us to treat, please send SMS to 0035826603 or follow us on social media at Lagos Television #SoundHealth. A sound health is a sound mind. Make healthy living your choice.